Hi, I'm Erin and I say stuff, and today I want to talk more about helping to raise our boys to not be victims of the male loneliness epidemic or NEETs. This is another video on the topic of control, and in this particular video, I want to talk about the control of having boundaries. Now, boundaries is a pretty popular buzzword, but some folks are not really clear on what having a boundary means. So let's talk about that. In the terms of parenting, um, when it comes to boundaries, having your own personal boundaries is super important. These might be things that you will and will not tolerate, things that you will and will not do in response to other people's behaviors, or even just as a matter of personal principle. So, for example, I do not date people who smoke. That's just a matter of my personal principle, and it has nothing to do with who the people who smoke are. I'm not being prescriptive in my statement. I'm not telling other people what to do, or even, if there will be consequences for their actions. It doesn't even concern them. It concerns me only, and what I will and will not accept for my life. That's basically all a boundary is. So a boundary may be something like, um, in my house, we don't drink alcohol. It might be something like, um, the quiet hours are between 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. These are all just statements of fact. They're just basically rules. They don't target anyone in particular. They don't tell anyone what to do with their life. It's just essentially, you know, where where my lines of behavior are. Where I won't cross the lines. And similarly, that applies to, what you will and won't accept from your child. So, for example, um, if they're being nasty to people, if they've got an attitude and they are using curse words, um, you know, that behavior is not acceptable. It's just, we don't use curse words at people. Um, we don't swear. We don't give attitude like that. Go somewhere else with it. It can be, uh, gosh, think of your own boundaries. It can be things like, what time bedtime is. It can be, um, that, oh, one that I had was, I don't go out of the house with people who are stinky and smelly. I just don't want to be trapped in a car with people who smell like feet and farts. So that means what? I'm not telling anybody to shower. I'm not telling anybody they need to start wearing deodorant and change their socks. I'm not naming names or being cruel. I will not ride in a car with people who smell like ass. That's that. That's a boundary. Um, and think about your own boundaries. Um, your kids are all allowed to have boundaries as well. They're allowed to have you not intrude on things that don't concern you. So, you know, if they don't smell like ass and they're otherwise hygienic, you don't really get a say. Um, Unless, of course, they're drowning in cologne and it's aggravating your allergies. But, when it comes to like one of the biggest power struggles that I had as a teenager with my parents was the state of my room and how clean it was. And I didn't really struggle with how clean my teen's room was, because I realized that was not something that affected me. And so I let it go. I did, give my no to, there not being a path to the door. There still had to be an allowance for safety, which was a rabbit trail from the bed to the door so that in case the house caught on fire, he could still escape his messy room. But other than that, if it was too messy to bring friends over and it made him embarrassed, not my problem. If he lost things in his room that he really wanted to find, not my problem. If he misplaced something that was very important and costly that he had to pay to replace, again, not my problem. I didn't make the mess. I didn't live in the mess. Where it became my problem was if there was food mess up in his bedroom. So I did not permit him to bring dishes and food into the bedroom. That was a line that I drew because infestations of pests did impact me and I would not allow it to. So, other than that, if he didn't have clothes to wear because they were all dirty on his floor, not my problem. So, know where your boundaries are, and I promise you, not only will it give you a lot more of a response from your kids when you actually do have to say no, when you have to pull that card and say, I'm very sorry, but this is an instance where I'm going to have to stop you, because it's so rare, they will actually listen a lot better. And also, your words will have a lot more impact. Other than that, you may feel lighter because there's less that you feel that you have to control. Another tug of war that my parents had and that I had that I chose to let go of was my kids' grades. I had a high schooler who wasn't doing that great in a couple of classes, and I did the typical yell, stomp, scream, get red in the face. It didn't really help. All it did was shut him down and close off our partnership so that we couldn't solve the problem together. When I really just decided that, you know, I'm going to love him no matter how long it takes him to graduate, and whether or not he graduates is not going to impact my life. It's going to impact his, and I hope that, I can help him to understand how that it will impact his life, but it's ultimately not my decision whether or not he graduates. So I can help him try to problem solve and figure out ways that he can get there if he wants to, but it's not my place to even want. Um, Even though I do want him to become a self-sufficient, healthy, responsible, productive adult. Anyhow, let's talk some more about this. I'd love to hear your opinions and get some feedback.